What is up, guys? Randomonium here. I know it has been a long time since I've made a video, and I do apologize for that. I'll get into the details of why I've been gone for so long in a future video. But right now, we've got Worlds coming up. PlayIn Stage is going to be kicking off in a few days. I feel like I need to make some videos on Worlds, and I will be making a lot of videos on the item reworks that are coming out shortly as well. So this video is going to be tailored towards beginners. It's kind of an introduction to the World Championship. It's for the people that don't really watch Professional League. It's for the people that aren't really familiar with the teams. So I'm going to break down the format for the 2020 championships. I'm going to talk about the teams. I'm going to talk about who's favored, who's not favored. And I'm doing this not to like throw shade at particular teams or different regions. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to explain which teams are the underdogs. So that way when those teams, or if or when those teams win, you get excited about it. Like, I want to talk about the storylines, right? Because if you don't understand that like a team is a huge underdog, then it won't mean as much to you if they wind up getting that huge upset. So I think it's important to talk about like what are the perceptions of the different regions of the teams going into the tournament, who's favored, who is not, because that builds those interesting storylines throughout the World Championship, and that's what makes the World Championship so cool, is to see those upsets and to see those, the shocking plays and things like that. So, Worlds 2020. 24 teams were invited to the World Championship. Only 22 will be attending. The 2 representatives from Vietnam will not be attending due to COVID concerns. So there's some discussion about whether or not they'd be even allowed to come back into Vietnam if they went to the World Championship. So they decided to not attend. So we only have 22 teams going to World Championship. That does change how the play-in stage will go. But we'll make do. So in general, the World Championship is broken up into 3 different stages: the play-in stage, the group stage, and then the knockout stage. So starting off with the play-in stage. So the play-in stage, there'll be 10 teams. Only 4 are going to advance to the group stage. So the way it's going to work is that the 10 teams are broken down into 2 groups of 5. Each group of 5 plays everyone in their group once. So they play 4 games total. The team that does the worst is automatically eliminated. The team that does the best automatically moves on to the group stage. And then the number 4 and the number 3 team will play each other in a best of 5. And whoever wins that will go on to play the number 2 seed from the opposing group in a best of 5 to see who gets the final 2 spots. So at the end, we'll only have 4 teams that will make it out of this play-in stage into the group stage. So on the side of I guess you would call the A group would be Mad Lions from Europe, Team Liquid from North America, Supermassive from Turkey, Legacy Esports from Oceania, and INTZ from Brazil. And then Group B, it's going to be V3 Esports from Japan, PSG Talon from Southeast Asia, Rainbow 7 from Latin America, Unicorns of Love from Russia, and LGD Gaming from China. So for Group A, I would say that Mad Lions and Team Liquids are the 2 teams that are expected to finish 1-2. Not necessarily in that order. I do think that Mad Lions is considered to be the favorite, ever so slightly, just because Europe is considered to be a better region than North America. So I'd say that Mad Lions is the slight favorite going into that group, but I would not be shocked if Team Liquid winds up taking the number 1 spot. For Supermassive, Legacy Esports, and INTZ, they are not as favored. Supermassive has shown up in the past. Turkey is considered to be a pretty good region from the smaller regions as far as they're concerned. And Brazil has made some waves on the international stage before. Oceania has always struggled a little bit, so I'd say that Legacy Esports is probably the team that is most likely to finish last. But they could be the spoiler because this is best of ones. So best of ones are really volatile. And it's really easy to just completely screw up your entire Worlds run just by losing like a single match in a best of 1. So these games are going to be really high volatility. They're going to be it's going to just be really crazy. So I think that this play-in stage is going to be really cool because it's going to be best of ones. You only get 1 shot against each team, and if you don't perform, you go home essentially. But yeah, I would say that Mad Lions and Team Liquid are definitely probably 1-2. And then I would say INTZ and Supermassive are like 3-4. I'm not sure who's going to do better, whether it'll be Supermassive or INTZ. And I'd say that Legacy Esports is most likely going to be 5th in their group. So moving on to the Group B. So in this group, LGD Gaming is hands down the favorite to be the number one coming out of Group B. China has been looking incredibly dominant. LGD Gaming is the number 4 team coming out of China. They still look like they are the best team out of all 10 of the teams in the play-in stage. So they're kind of considered to be a lock for getting into the group stage. They're expected to go undefeated in the play-in stage. As far as the number 2 team, that's when things get really interesting in Group B, because PSG Talon is, I would say, the favorite to be the number 2 in this group. They're coming from Southeast Asia, but Unicorns of Love has been really strong. Like they shocked some people last year, and then this year they look even more dominant. So I would not be surprised if Unicorns of Love actually upsets PSG Talon and gets that number 2 spot. And we don't know how strong the Southeast region is now. The LMS kind of imploded. Now it's called, I believe, the PCS. And a lot of the best talent from the LMS has moved to China specifically. So it's kind of hard to gauge how well PSG Talent or the other representatives are going to do in this tournament. So it's really hard to tell. I'd say the most likely upset we're going to see is Unicorns of Love gets that number 2 spot away from PSG Talent, and PSG Talent moves to number 3. As far as V3 Esports and Rainbow 7, it's hard to say who's going to finish 4-5, but I do think that they're most likely going to finish in that 4-5 range. Japan, obviously, people have been cheering from them a lot in the past, and a lot of people cheer for Latin America as well. So it's gonna be interesting to see which one of those 2 teams can show up, because as you remember, the number 5 team is automatically eliminated. If you get number 4, then that means that you do get to play a best of 5 to try and save your Worlds run. So it's gonna be interesting to see that battle for 4th, 5th in Group B. So that's the play-in stage. Only 4 teams are going to make it out. The most likely teams to make it out would be Mad Lions, Team Liquid, LGD, and PSG Talon. But PSG Talon is the one that is most suspect, I would say. There is a huge possibility that Unicorns of Love could upset them and take that 4th spot. You also run into a very weird situation where if PSG Talon shows up and they get number 2 and Unicorns of Love is number 3, that means they could wind up playing either Team Liquid or Mad Lions and potentially knock out Team Liquid or Mad Lions if Unicorns of Love is able to beat them in a best of 5. So yeah, there's definitely some very interesting storylines going on right now. I'd say the only team that is considered to be a for sure lock to get into groups is LGD. But yeah, I mean, it would be really crazy even if LGD ran into some issues as well. So if you see LGD faltering, that's a huge storyline to keep track of. So moving on to groups. So group stage, 4 teams, 4 groups. And basically each one, they're going to do a double round robin. So they play each team twice. And only the top 2 teams move on to the knockout stage. So for Group A, we have G2 Esports from Europe. We've got Suning from China. And we've got Machi Esports from Southeast Asia. Group B, we've got Damon Gaming from Korea. We've got Rogue from Europe. And we got JD Gaming from China. And then Group C, we got Gen.G from Korea. We got TSM from North America. We got Fnatic from Europe. And then Group D, we've got FlyQuest from North America. We've got DRX from Korea. And we've got Top Esports from China. And the last 4 spots, you see that 1 spot is missing from each group. Those are the 4 teams that are going to come from the play-ins. So, as far as teams making it from the play-ins to the group stage, there's a very important rule with how different teams can slot into different groups. You can't have 2 teams from the same region in the same group. So what this means is that if LGD Gaming makes it out of play-in stage, they're guaranteed to be in Group C because there's already a Chinese team in Group A, Group B, and Group D. So the only group that LGD Gaming could be put into would be Group C. The same is true for Mad Lions. Mad Lions can only be put into Group D because you've got European teams in Group A, Group B, and Group C. So if Mad Lions makes it out, they can only be put into Group D. Where things get interesting is with Team Liquid and with Talon. So Machi is also a PCS team, a Southeast Asian team. So if Talon makes it out, Talon can only be put into Group B. And if Team Liquid makes it out, that means that Team Liquid would be forced into Group A. If Unicorns of Love upsets Talon, then that means that Team Liquid could be either in Group A or Group B, and then Unicorns of Love could be in either Group A or Group B. So, as far as who's going to make it out of group stage, it's obviously really hard to predict because we don't even know who's going to make it out of the play-in stage into the group stage. But if we assume that it's going to be Team Liquid in Group A, sorry for my epic pen skills, and we've got Talon is going to be in Group B. And then we would wind up having LGD in Group C. And then we'd wind up having MAD in Group D. So if this is how it winds up being, I would say that to get out of groups, it'd be G2 and Suning would be the most likely. So G2, number 1 seed coming out of Europe, and then Suning was number 3 coming out of China. They'd be the favorites over Machi and TL. TL would most likely get 3, Machi would most likely get 4. But it's really hard to tell because I think that any teams coming out of Southeast Asia are always a wild card. That said, it's not like completely lost for Team Liquid. It's just they're going to be punching up in weight. Like Suning and G2 are definitely considered to be better teams than Team Liquid. So Team Liquid would really have to show up in order to make it out of groups. So that's something to keep in mind. If you see Team Liquid popping off against Suning or G2, that's a huge deal. That's like a really huge deal, especially considering that North America usually struggles with the World Championship. Keep that in mind. So yeah, I'd say for Group A, G2 and Suning are most likely the teams to advance. If you were going to bet on it, I would say G2 and Suning. For Group B, this is considered to be one of the groups of death. So you got Damwon, you got Rogue, you got JD Gaming, and you got Talon, assuming Talon makes it out. So JD Gaming was number 2 out of China, and they had a really hard fought like finals against top esports. And they looked so good. Like JD Gaming looks really good, but Damwon also looks fantastic. Like Damwon and JD Gaming are some of the favorites to win the whole freaking world championship. So automatically, you have to say that Damwon and JD Gaming are the favorites to get out of Group B. Sorry to Rogue and sorry to Talon, but they're the heavy favorites. Damwon and JD Gaming are heavy favorites to make it out of Group B. So if Rogue is able to take a game off of either one of those two teams, or Talon or whoever else gets slotted into Group A, Group B takes a game off of JD Gaming or Damwon, that's a huge, huge deal. All right, so that's what you need to be looking for in Group B, is that if Damwon or JD Gaming drop any games to Rogue or whatever the fourth team is that slots into Group B. But yeah, Damwon and JD Gaming are definitely the favorites coming out of that group. Group C is probably the most open group of the entire tournament. I don't think that anybody knows for sure what's going to happen in Group C. So you got Gen.G coming out of Korea, you got TSM coming out of North America, you got Fnatic coming out of Europe, and you got LGD Gaming coming out of China. So it winds up being that you got the number 2 seed from Europe, the number 1 seed from America, you get the number 4 seed from China, and you get the number 3 seed from Korea. So it's kind of hard. Is the number 1 seed from North America better than the number 4 seed from China? We don't know. Is the number 1 seed from North America better than number 2 from EU? We don't know. So there's a lot of things up in the air, and I don't think anybody really knows who's going to make it out of this group. I have my fingers crossed that that NA or Europe will make it out, being a Western fan, but I really can't say for sure. I definitely think this is probably... This group is the best shot for NA to make it out. I think that this group is, TSM has the best chance to make it out. But even this group is a hard group for TSM to make it out of the group stage into the knockout stage. But yeah, I really don't have no idea who's going to make it out of this group. But it should be a huge banger of a group. Expect to see some tiebreakers coming out of this group. And it's really like every single game matters in Group C. You drop a single game to the wrong person, your entire World Run is done in Group C. That brings us to Group D. So Group D is going to be FlyQuest, DRX, Top Esports, and most likely Mad Lions. So out of this, you got to say the Top Esports and DRX are the favorites. Top Esports is also one of the favorites. So I'd say the three favorites in this tournament right now are Damwon, JD Gaming, and Top Esports. I think number 4, most people would say G2 Esports. G2 Esports being the finalist from last year, and obviously the best team coming out of Europe. They'd probably be number 4. But I think that for sure the top 3 that everybody is going to have is going to be Damwon, JD Gaming, and Top Esports. So you have to assume the top. I think a lot of people are saying the top is going to go undefeated in this group. DRX is obviously the number 2 choice, but it's possible that DRX implodes. Like we don't know for sure. There is a chance that FlyQuest or Mad Lions can make it out of this group. It's going to be really interesting to see FlyQuest go up against Mad Lions. We'll get some more of that NA-EU rivalry. Yeah, but I definitely think that FlyQuest and Mad Lions are most likely 3-4, and DRX and Top Esports are going to be moving on from that group. So, based off of that, I would assume that most likely the teams that are going to get out would be G2 and Suning, Damwon and JD Gaming. Group C, I have no fucking clue, to be perfectly honest. And then Group D would be Top Esports and DRX. So that would be the 8 teams that are going to make it out of group. So you can see that we've gone from... we've basically gone from 22 teams to 16 teams, and then we're going to go to 8 teams for the actual playoffs. So the way the playoffs are going to work is that the number 1 seed from a group is going to play the number 2 seed from another group. The other rule is that the number 1 and the number 2 from the same group can't be in the same half of the draw. So for example, the biggest one that I would look at is like Damwon, and if assuming Damwon, let's say Damwon gets first in their group, JD Gaming gets 2 in their group. That means that Damwon and JD Gaming have to be on opposite sides of the final of the knockout bracket, which means that they can only meet in finals. So that's how you can like set up some really interesting storylines where like maybe JD Gaming loses to Damwon in the group stage, but then they wind up playing each other in the finals or something like that. So there's a lot of cool storylines that can happen out of this. But yeah, the number 2 seed, if you're the number 2, you're going to go up against a more difficult matchup. So definitely you get a lot for being the number 1 coming out of your group. If you're number 2 coming out of your group, then you're going to go up against one of the number 1 teams, and it's going to be a much harder matchup in the quarterfinals. So anyway, teams will play in the quarterfinals, number 1 versus number 2, and then winners play in the semis, and then winners of that play in the finals. All of them are best of 5s. And yeah, and hopefully we'll have a new world champion. There's only a few teams that are actually back at the World Championship from last season. We have a lot of new teams, new faces, really interesting storylines. China is definitely the favorite coming into this World Championship. Europe has seemed like they've always struggled against China, so it's going to be interesting to see if Europe has overcome their issues against Chinese teams. Korea has been out of the talk for a couple years now, but remember, Korea was, they were the gods of League of Legends for a long freaking time, and they're looking to reclaim their throne, so they're coming back, looking to regain some of their prestige for their region. And then of course you got scrappy NA. I don't think I'm with a lot of other people in the NA region where I don't think they have that much of a chance. Their play does not look near as clean as some of the other regions, but NA is always trying to prove themselves, so it'll be interesting to see if they can take at least a few games off of some of the top teams in the world. And then yeah, same with their emerging regions. The emerging regions, everybody writes them off, but it's really fun to watch some of the smaller regions play because they bring different metas, different champions, different styles of play to the main stage, and they can shock some teams. So it's gonna be interesting to see some of the smaller regions going up against some of the big dogs at the World Championship. So anyway, any questions, please feel free to ask. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. This is Randomonium signing off.